Hey, my name's Rita, and I really like making games. I started consistently working with Unity maybe half a year ago, but I have a couple years of programming behind me. I've made plenty of little prototypes, but I've only really finished one game, and I really want to make that too. Above everything else, I really want a game on Steam before I graduate high school. That all brings us to where we are now, Boom Dudes. Boom Dudes is a 2D PvP shooter with a focus on fast-paced gameplay. The engine I'm using is obviously Unity, I'm programming in C#, and the art's going to be made in A-Sprite. Let's jump back to the start though, so you can see how I got where I am now. So the first thing I did was I got the basic movement mechanics set up. I used a rigid body-based movement system, and I just got it set up with a circle and a square as the ground to get things up and running. After I got that set up, I jumped into working on the jump. I really wanted variable jump height so that the player could have better control over their jumps, and I got that done by following a video called Better Jumping with 4 Lines of Code, and I found that to be a really optimized solution to getting nice, clean, variable jump height. So on the left clip you see the jumping mechanic without variable jump height, and you kind of have a stiff, floaty effect on the jumps. On the right we do have variable jump height, and it just gives the player a lot more control, it feels a lot more snappy, and it kind of gives you that neat little Mario jump effect. So after I got the core movement mechanics out of the way, I got started on the player's art. I wanted to go for a bit of a Rambo aesthetic because it's iconic and simple. And then as far as animations I made, I just gave every state the player would be in at least one frame, and if I could, I gave him a fully fleshed out animation. As I was implementing the animations, I found the animator tab and its workflow kinda clunky. It was moving my transitions around, and I didn't like working with the parameter condition system. I watched a video about working with the animator through script by Lost Relic Games, and the system he talked about was easier to work with and gave me plenty more control, so I'm going to be working with that from now on. After I got the player animations in the game, I got started on some basic art for the map. I was going for a 1980s NYC sort of look. I got some window sprites and a few details I can drop into those windows drawn up too. Since firing is a pretty core mechanic to the game, I thought it was about time to kind of get the gun set up. The gun bobs and weaves with all the other animations, and it also points at the cursor at all times. After I got the code end of the gun implemented, I made a few sprites and got those firing too. Unfortunately, the bullets weren't deleting themselves. I threw a billboard into the map too. The billboard was always a really big part of the map in my mind, so it was nice to have it in the game. I designed a different way to manage weapons using scriptable objects that I think will be pretty scalable, and that made reloading pretty easy to implement. The bullet sprites were fun, and I got those implemented pretty quickly. Each gun shoots its own type of bullet, and each type of bullet has its own sprite. I got a health system drafted up too. The player's regen at the moment, and I don't know if I'm going to be keeping that because I feel like that might promote hiding behind cover every time you get shot way too much. Right after that, I got working on some of the scrolling clouds in the background and some cover for the players. It was kind of tricky to make cover that still suited the setting, but you know, with some inspiration I was able to make that happen. I didn't get the cover actually into the map at the time of writing the script, but when I was making the thumbnail, I did. Whenever I get started on a new project, I always neglect one key element, and that's planning. Since I really want to complete this project, I got a board set up on Hack and Plan. I really like Hack and Plan, and it's geared perfectly towards game development. I've worked with Trello in the past, and that's great, but Hack and Plan is perfect. I had a pretty vivid image in my mind of what the UI would be as well, so I dedicated today to setting up a mockup. The player gets a good idea of their health, ammo, weapon status, and active weapon at a glance, so I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I got the look I was going for, and I was able to call it a day right there. Multiplayer is definitely, for me, the scariest and most intimidating mechanic, but it's also one of the most core ones, so I decided to tackle that on this day of development. Using a network engine called Photon, I was able to get 2 players in the same lobby within a couple of hours. The multiplayer definitely really has its issues. Bullets weren't always disappearing and other players didn't animate properly, but it allowed me to get a rough understanding of how it would work and get the ball rolling. I'll be rolling out a devlog after the break to document all the progress I've made over the course of it, so I'll be uploading some more progress in hopefully a couple of weeks. The itch.io link to the project is in the description, and if you guys liked the devlog, dropping a like would be great. If you didn't, go ahead and dislike. If you want to keep up with the project, subbing would be awesome.
Like you killed, nerd.